Hello, CIS students. I want to talk about the assignments for this week. And it's almost the same as similar to what you have done in the past with one minor, difference. We have, you will see this training that is there and you are already familiar with this, training. And also there is some textbook project for students who like to learn more. This is not graded. This is just for students who like to learn about access. And this is the reading of the book. It's not a part of the assignment. It's just for you to read. As you all know, we had another assignment that we always called it SAM end of the module, one project. This week, instead of that one, we have another one. I didn't include that one, but instead I added a new one, which is a kind of easy. I will show you how, we are going to do this assignment. And now, what I want you to do is that, as you all know, this week we are going to cover Microsoft Access. And some students don't have access on their computers. I asked our IT department to help, excuse me, these students to download access on their computers. How do they do that? How do the students get access to Microsoft, to their computers? When you click here, and when you go to resources, and when you go to Office 365, when you click there, you will see a screen similar to here, to this. You click here and install Office, 365, and that one hopefully will put Microsoft Access on your computer. That way you can do this project, which is right here, and I will tell you what it is. And as you know, for this one, you do not need Microsoft Access, the one that says Access Module 1, SAM training that is on Cengage platform. But for this one, you do need Access installed in your computer. If you have any problem in downloading this program, you let me know. Sometimes this program is not compatible, usually with, Apple products, such as Mac. OS. Therefore, if that is the case, you let me know and I will give you another assignment instead of this one. Since you do not have, Microsoft, you won't be able to download Microsoft Access. However, if you have, Windows operating system like HP, computers, like Dell computers with, Windows, then you will be able, hopefully, to download Access and do this problem. Now, for this week, I have created one project that I want you to do exactly the same as what I have done. That way, excuse me, you get a sense of what, Access is. First, I will show the problem that I have solved in Excel. And this is Excel. Access and Excel are very similar in many ways. In Excel, we create tables, and in Access also, we do have similar features, which you will see columns, you will see rows, and, with different terminologies. And this is first something I created in Excel that I am going to provide you this one. That way you can have this information and put it in Microsoft Access. Imagine that you have been hired by the FBI, for example, and you have been asked to enter the names of criminals in a database. Very easily, you can, open Microsoft Excel and enter it, which is, if it is the Excel, easily you will put the first name of the criminal, the last name, the age of the criminal, the state where that, criminal, for example, was born, or, the country, and you want to know if that criminal was a male or female. Therefore, this is one table, or think about it as one table. Then we know that organizations have different tables. Another table, for example, might be the table for the FBI, that the FBI agents are after these criminals to catch them, for example. And imagine this table has the first name of the FBI agent, the last name, and which of these criminals have been assigned to these FBI agents, And also in our table, we want to know what kind of guns our, FBI agents have. Now, let's look at the criminals. The first criminal, whose name is Al Capone, as you all know, that was, a criminal 100 years ago. And, he was 48 years old and, was from state of New York, and he was a male. And interestingly, one time I ran into a lawyer who died many years ago in Washington, D.C., whose name was John Smith-Brabner. I didn't know until he died. In his obituary, I read that he was the prosecutor that the government hired to go after Al Capone. And also, I went to, one time I was in San Francisco in that famous prison, and I saw the cell that Al Capone was sent to prison, in that famous prison, Alcatraz. Then you have heard of Bonnie and Clyde. These are two more criminals. The age, we write them, and from which state they were, male or female. Pablo Escobar, this was another criminal. And at age of 44, he died. And he was from Colombia. He was a major drug dealer and was a male. And El Chapo is just a nickname for another criminal. His actual name was something that, they called him Jacqueline Guzman. They caught him. He is in prison now in the U.S. They caught him in Mexico, brought him to the U.S., tricked him, brought him to, brought him to the U.S., and he is a male. And imagine this is the database we are going to create for the criminals. Then we have 4 FBI agents, one of them whose name is Donald Trump, and he is assigned to check on Al Capone, and then Joe Biden has been assigned to 2 criminals, and that is Bonnie and Clyde. These were the thieves, and therefore, and Barack Obama is assigned to Pablo Escobar and George Bush. An FBI agent is assigned to El Chapo. And then these are the guns that we have, each FBI agent has, and we have to have it in our database. That way, if any gun is missing, we know what's happening. Therefore, that is to Donald Trump. We have given him a Colt, and Joe Biden has AK-47. Barack Obama has this, and therefore, as you see, this is a concept of, for now, we have to create a database. Why are we using Access? Because imagine list of criminals might not have few criminals. It might have 1 million criminals around the world. It would be too difficult to use Excel to have the names of millions of criminals, or FBI has as many as 30,000 employees. Again, Excel is difficult. Therefore, we have to come up with use Access. That way, things can become easy for us. Therefore, what we do, we are going to open and Microsoft, have Microsoft Access, and here it is. I will click Access, and this is the Microsoft Access. If you can open it, my recommendation, go through these different things that are already designed. These are pre-designed Microsoft Access for, things that the people can do. But for this class, for this week, we are going to create a new blank database. I double click on it. And something like Excel pops up. And as you all see here, you will see a screen, and you will see on the left side, there is a table. Do you see table 1 on the left side? It's already table somewhat being created for me. And now all I have to do is to enter the names of the criminal. The first criminal, his first name was Al. I put Al here and click enter. The last name, Capone, and I click enter. And then his age was 48. I click enter. And then he is from New York, and put New York. And I click enter, and it says male or female. I put male here. That is the first criminal that I entered into this table. As you see, it operates similar to Excel. If I click on this box next to male, it can cause a little bit of a challenge for me, but that's okay for now. As long as you see what I have done, then come here under Al Capone. The next person was Bunny, and last name was Bunny Parker, and the age was 23, as you see, 23, and then she was from Texas, and then she was a female, and then I go to the third one, which is Clyde, and then his last name Barrow, and he was 25, and Texas, and then was a male. The last person is, for example, there was one more, but for now, I just put Pablo, last name Escobar, and he was 44, and he was from Colombia. And then was a male. I have one El Chapo, but I will put that person at a later time. I was just want to show you. Therefore, I have created my first table. The only thing I am not happy about it is because I see here is written field 1. That shouldn't be field 1. I should change the name of it from field 1 to first, okay? Therefore, I click on where it says field 1. I double click and type first. That's first name. Similarly, I click here, and that's the last name. I click last. Field 3, I double click and put age. The fourth one, I double click here, and that is from which state or country. And then this one, I put male and put a question mark, whether male or female. And here it is. Now, this is my first table is being created. And I wish I could name this table as a table of criminals. It's called table 1. I have to change the name of it from table 1 to criminals, because it's a table for criminals. How do I do that? Let me see. And also, I haven't saved my database. Therefore, I have 2 challenges now. First, to save them and also change the name of table 1 to criminals. And then I create another table, and I call that table as FBI agents. Therefore, here, do you see here is written create? I want to create another table. I click here, create, and do you see here is written table? I click there. This is, do you see table 2? Table 1 was created, and this is table 2. Now I can go and put the names of my first FBI agent, whose name is Donald, first name, Donald, and his last name is, I click enter, Trump, I click enter, and it is, I have Al Capone is the person, criminal I have assigned to him to check on him, and the gun that the weapon he has is called Colt. He has a Colt. The next FBI agent is Joe, last name Biden. And he is, assigned to both Bunny and Clyde. And the gun, AK, the weapon, AK-47. And the next agent is Barack Obama. And he is, the criminal assigned to him is Pablo. And the weapon he has is AK-47. And the last person, which is George Bush. And this is Bush. And the criminal assigned to him is Pablo. George Bush. Let's see. George Bush, that's okay. I put EL for El Chapo. We assigned El Chapo to him. And then gun he has is a Colt. Now, we have a database now. A database with two tables. One table, I double click here, the table of criminals. One table I double click is the table of FBI agent. And now, when I click here, I wish I could change the name of table 1 to criminals. I double click. And one thing also I didn't do is that in table 2, I forgot to change the name of field 1, I double click, and this becomes first. This becomes last. This becomes assigned criminals. And this one, I call it weapon. And now I click here and I try to see if I can change the name. I double click on table 1. The table 1 is here. I right click to change the name. When I try to change it, it doesn't allow me. The reason to it is that this table here is open. I have to close it. When a table is open, I cannot rename it. The same as table 2. Do you see here is table 1? If I click here, table 2, they are open. Somehow I have to close these tables. Let me see if I click on this X. Do you want to save changes to table 2? I click yes. Therefore, it asks me what do I want to name table 2. Do you remember the table 2? I call it agents. That these are a table 2 where the name of agents, which was Donald Trump, and I click OK. Do you see this one is changed to agents, not table 1. I cannot, right click and click rename. It doesn't because the table is open. Maybe I click on this X to close it. Do you want to save changes to table 1? I click yes. Now, as we said, we call the table 1 as criminals. And I click OK. Now, as you see, I have a database with two tables in it. One of the tables is agents. I double click, and these are the agents. And the next one is criminals. I have 4 criminals. I have missed one of them, El Chapo, but I can put it later. I can put El Chapo later to show you how I'm going to put that. And therefore, so far, we learned anytime we want to create a new table, because let's not forget, FBI might have another table. If it has another table, I click create and I click table. What kind of table the FBI might have? FBI might have 500 buildings. Therefore, it can create a table for its buildings, and then it can write how many rooms a building might have. What's the price of the building? How many security guards the building has? Therefore, and in which state that building is located. Therefore, these are different. Suppose these are the major criminals. FBI might have another database which is not for those. Might have another tables for felons that are have escaped the prison, for example. Therefore, we might have a lot of tables. Now, I want you to think about these tables in terms of schools. As a college, we will talk about it later. As a college, we have a lot of tables. We have one tables for students, one tables for professors, one tables for financial aid, one table, for the parents. Therefore, we do have a lot of tables at the college. And where you work, also you have, think about a hospital. Hospital has its own tables. Patients, what kind of blood type they have, what kind of insurance they have, are they male or female, what kind of disease they have. That's one table. The hospital has another table for the doctors. Well, who are the doctors? What kind of degree they have? What's their specialty? How much we should pay him for each surgery? How much? Therefore, and then again, hospital might have another table. In that table, how many beds we have? How many toilet papers we have? How many? Therefore, a hospital might have 50 tables. And now we have the name of this database we haven't chosen a name for this database. Let's call this database as, let me call this database as FBI. How about that? We have the agents, we have a table called agents, we have another table called criminals, but let's call the entire database that has all the tables in it as call it as FBI. Therefore, let me close the whole thing, and then it asks me to save my database and name it. At that time, I will name it database. I will save it on my desktop. That way I can submit it as an assignment. I click here, and it closed because I had saved it already. It would have, when I closed it, it usually comes, I could, let me one more time, I do it. Save as, for example, and then suppose I double click here, save as, and then I scroll up here, and I click desktop, and I click FBI, for example, and I click save. And that table will be saved as the FBI. But I have done this assignment. Although you see two tables here, you see extra things in here that I am going to show you. But let me go and find whatever I created already. And let me see if I can find the one that I just, let me see if this is the one that I just worked on it. Open. And let's see, maybe this is the one. Now let me see, even here you go. I will go in here and let me see, database FBI, and maybe I don't think that's it. That's okay. I am going to close this, and I am going to minimize this, and I am going to minimize this one and this one, and I come here, and I click on the one of these in here. Here you go. And let me cut this, and then let me just and let me cut this, and let me cut this. Okay, now enable, and after I enable this, you will see that I have two tables here. One of them is agents, and one of them is criminals. And as you see, we have this in here. Now, imagine that suddenly they come and the FBI director will ask you, who are the criminals from Texas? If they ask you, we know who they are. One of them is Bonnie, and one of them is Clyde. Do you see that? Now, of course, here is very easy for us to see and to, pinpoint. But when we have as many as 1 million criminals, as many as 2,000 of them might be from Texas, we have to create a query that can go and pull the names of the criminals who are from state of Texas, which means it has to automatically pull these names. Let's see how we can do that. We go to the table, which is called criminals, which is here. I click create. Instead of table, I click on query wizards. Query wizard. And it is a simple query. I can click OK. Here, I want to create a query not from the agents. I don't want the query from the agents. I want the query from the criminals. And for now, do you see first name? I bring it to the left, last name, age. And for now, I bring everything. And then I click next. And I click next. And I click finish. Of course, this query, criminals query that you look, is exactly similar to this table, because the table and query are the same at the moment. But this query, when I brought it here, now I can go and filter this query based on the people who are from state of Texas. How do I do that? Now that my query is being created, I click on home. Do you see here home? I click view. When I click on view, I am in data sheet view. Do you see? I can be in design view here. I go to my design view. It looks a little different. Therefore, let's not forget one more time. I click here. This is datasheet view. And let's not forget, I am in home tab. And this is design view. In the design view, the criteria, suppose the FBI director is asking you to go and find all the criminals who the criteria is from the state of Texas. I put TX, means I want the people who are from state of Texas, TX. And do you see this red one? I click run, it will run. And do you see it only picked up the people from the state of Texas? Imagine if we have 50,000 people from the state of Texas who are in the database of the FBI. All of them will be pulled up, Now, imagine the FBI director asks you one thing and asks you, go and find all the criminals who are over 30 years old. We know who they are. These are the criminals. And the criminals who are over 30 years old, one is Al Capone. One of them is, for now, is Pablo Escobar. Therefore, because they are over 30. Can we use some query that pull the names of the criminals? This time we are not interested in what states they are from. We are only interested in the criminals, and only the FBI tells you just bring their first name and the ones that over 45 years old. Therefore, I go and create another query. I go in here and click create, and I click query wizard, and I click OK. This time, I make sure that I don't have query criminals table. And then the FBI tells you, the FBI director tells you, bring the first name. And also says, bring the last name. He or she said, bring the age, but doesn't want the state and doesn't want to know whether it is female or male. The only thing the FBI director wants from you is the people who are criminals and over 30. And I click next, and I click next, and I click finish. Now I have a query with, imagine 1 million names on it. I am only interested on people whose age is above 30. Therefore, I go back to my homepage, which is here. I click on view, and I click on design view, and criteria this time, the age, the director is greater. I put the greater sign. You know what greater sign is if you look at your keyboard, the greater than 30, 30. And then I click on this red, exclamation run to see who the people, who the criminals are. Do you see? It already, the query was, pick the people who are over 45 years old. Let's not forget, in real world, they use this concept. Let's say, suppose in the state of West Virginia, there is an armed robbery, and the person goes and tells the police that at night they saw a car came and it had a Texas tag, for example, and also the driver seemed over 30 years old. Therefore, in this case, FBI, FBI goes, of course, it cannot pull because we know that the criminals of Texas in this particular case were, 45 years, 23 years old. Or suppose they say that the person was, for example, male and was 44. Therefore, we can put two criteria. We can put, let me go again to criteria, and then let me go and create another one. I will create here, create query. I don't want to bring too many queries. We can talk about it. I don't want to. For now, you got a sense of what we are trying to achieve. So far, our database, which we called it FBI, has two tables. One of the tables is called agent. One of the tables is called criminals. One query found the people who are from Texas. Now, I can go even and find the people who are not only from Texas, but are female. How do I do that? I go to my home and I click view and I go to my design view. I'm not going to run that. And I come here, I can click female, let me put it, that's okay, female. And I can run the query. That means the person not only is supposed to be from Texas, it was a female, I run it. Do you, oops, therefore it was one thing missing. It had two, conditions. Let me go back again, remove that. And then it was state is from Texas and from female, I will look at it and I will discuss it. But for now, I want you to, to have when we want to combine two criteria from Texas or Colombia, for example. And my purpose is to show you when we combine two of this, the criteria is supposed to be either from Texas or Colombia. And as you see, it did pull two of them from Texas or Colombia. Or I could go here and click design view. And instead of here telling, Colombia, I could come and say that, whether it is, the age could be greater. Sometimes, as I said, we could combine 2, 3 of them. But for now, my goal is just to show you at the moment that how to combine this. So far, you understood somehow the concept of how to create a table, how to create a query. Now I am going to create a form for our criminals. I double click on criminals here. These are the criminals. And I click form. And I'll tell you what a form is and why forms are being used. I click on forms. I click on form here. And a form is being created. And as you see, this form allows me to enter the names of criminals. If I decide to enter any name, the problem is that it doesn't allow, if I click here, it doesn't allow me to do anything. And then I can click on here there are 4 criminals. If I click next one is the next person, 3 and 4 criminals are already in my database. The problem, if a new criminal, which we called it El Chapo, if we want to enter him into the database, we could go to the criminals table and enter him. But we could enter him using this table, the form. But the problem is that this form doesn't allow me to enter the name of the 5th criminal, who is El Chapo. And the reason to it is that I am in a wrong view. I am on, layout view. Layout view doesn't allow you to do that, anything. You have to go to form view. I click on form view. Now I have 4 people in my form. I go back again. That's the 3rd person. This is the 2nd person. And this is my 1st person. Al Capone, 45, New York. And it is a male. Now I go to the next person. This is the next person, 3rd and 4th. Now there is a new criminal that I want to add. And his name is El Chapo. How do I do that? I go and click on the next one. Let me see if the 5th or this one. Okay, this is a new. First name is El. And then the last name is Chapo. I had not entered this person. And then I could easily put that in using table to put the person. This is El Chapo. Age of El Chapo is 68. State is Mexico, and he is a male, and therefore I have created a form. And now I'm going to close the form. Let's not forget I used the form to enter the name of El Chapo. I didn't put the name of El Chapo in my table, which is here. Now let's see what happens. I'm going to close this. Do you want to save changes to form criminals? Yes, because I added a new person. And it asks me, do I want to name it as my form as the form for criminals? Yes, the form. I click OK. Now look at here. I have a table. The table is called agents. That's the agents. Those are the agents. I have a table called criminals. El Chapo is not showing in here. Do you remember we used this form to enter the name of El Chapo? It is not showing here yet, but when I close my database, hopefully El Chapo will show in here. Now, I click on query. This query showed me the people who are from state of Texas. I had another query which showed me the people who are over 45 years, over 30 years old. And I have a table, as a form, and in that form, I can use to enter the names of, the criminals. But there is an unfortunate thing here that we put the names of the fifth criminal, which is El Chapo, which is right here. My hope was that when I entered this person in this form from here could send the name to the list of criminals here, which it hasn't. It hasn't updated. Therefore, El Chapo is supposed to show in here. Why did we use form? Why didn't we put El Chapo right in here? It has a reason. Let me tell you, imagine you are working for a hospital. The patients come and you put the name of patients here, and imagine that someone from there can see other patients can come and look at your database and can see the names of all the patients in here. If that happens, that can cause some kind of let's say problem, HIPAA problem, that patients cannot see the names of each other, for example. For that reason, you use the form and to enter, because if a new patient comes, I can hide all these tables of the patients. I can click here and enter the name of a new patient. In fact, you all use these forms on daily basis, those of you who use in hospital. When you go to the doctor's office, do you see that secretary will ask you, what's your name? What's your last name? Do you have insurance? That secretary is putting your name to this form, and from this form, when you click submit, from this table, the form, all the way it goes to this table, which is right in here. You use these forms regularly. And you might not know. You go to Amazon. You want to buy something from Amazon. Don't you fill out a form? This is the form. This is my credit card, or this is what I want. This is the item I want. I want this book. I want this to go to this address. You are in fact filling out a form. And when you click submit, that form that you fill out from that, from the Amazon.com website goes into a table like this. And then here would be your first name, last name, your credit card, take what you need, and it is entered into this. Therefore, the concept of forms is being used. Now you know why databases are so important. And it is not just for hospitals. It's not for, we are using it at, you all might be using it and you might not know you are using this at your work. You might say in bank they are using it. How much money you have? What's your address? What's your telephone number? What's your credit card number? They all have that. And that is a form that is, as soon as you go there, that, cashier, that teller goes to his computer, puts your name and looks at the screen. And that's a form he's pulling out. And, you take some money out in that form, he or she writes how much you pulled the money out. Therefore, you learned about three things so far. What a table is, what a query is, what a form is. And now we have another thing that we call it report. When we created, when I clicked here, one of them is called table, that we know what they are. If we have to create a new table, we click here. If we have to create a new query, we click here. If we have to create a new form, we might be interested to create a new form for the agents. We didn't create a form for agent. We could do that. I could click here, form, and then, and then I should ask to create a new form. And then let me go back, for example, I go to here, and then I click on agents. I click on agents here, and I click create and form, and here it is. It created a form for the agents. If we hire a new FBI agent, we click here, imagine, and we go to our form view, and we go to the new sheet, which is the fifth. We had 4 agents. The 5th agent, imagine the name of the 5th agent is Bill Clinton. We go there and put the name Bill Clinton, and therefore I have, and then I'm going to close this, and it asks me, do you want to create the form agents? I click yes, and agents, and I click OK. As you see, I have 2 tables here. I have 2 queries here, and I have 2 forms here, and I can have a new thing. I click on agents here. I can click here, create, and create a report. Report is the 4th thing. So far, we have 3 things in our database. We have tables, we have queries, we have agents. Now, the 4th thing I create is a report. I click report. And this is a report. And what is a report? Why did we, do you see El Chapo, appeared, popped up here? And in my report, I was able to see, I am able to see the El Chapo, the 5th, criminal. What is a report? Imagine the FBI directors, it doesn't know how to use, for example, computers. It asks you as the secretary, could you go and provide me a report that who are the criminals in our database? You bring and you create a report here. One thing you want to do is that, do you see this green in here? Maybe this report allows you, and you can put the logo of the FBI in there. And also, the FBI agents, the director of the FBI, might ask you, how many, give me a report, how many criminals we have in our database. It already has it for you. Do you see here? It has 5. It created a report to tell you we have 5. Even the report allows you. Sometimes the FBI director might say, what is the average age of these criminals? Do you see? Oops, the average age can be, it can show you what the average age is. It can calculate it just like Excel. Therefore, this report can provide you. And then I click view, and that is in layout view. I go to report view. That way I can print, see how nicely it has been reported. I can print this one and give it to the FBI director who doesn't, use computers, and say that this is my report. Therefore, the report allows you also to customize things, and as I said, if ask you what is the average age of the criminals, it can calculate the average and puts it at the bottom of here under the age, and you could say average age of the criminals is around 39 years old. Okay, and now I am going to close this, and I click yes, and it is a form. And as you see, we do have 2 tables, 1 table for agents, 1 table for criminals, 1 table for, criminals, 1 query I created, criminals query 1, and we have 1 form for agents, 1 form for criminals, and we have a report for this. I want you to create the same thing, and this doesn't take more than 30 minutes. If you have problem creating this database, and I want you to submit this one as your assignment, and let me submit it myself. Let's see if it allows me to submit. I will click, of course, I have first to save this on my desktop, which I click File, and I click Save, FBI1. I click Save. You click Save As. What you do, you click File, you click Save As, you click here, and I click Yes, and I click Yes, and I click Yes, and let me see, and everything, and I click on Desktop, and then I click Save, and it saves it on my desktop. Now, after it saves it on my desktop, I go in here, and this is, I am going to put this video that I am lecturing, I am going to put it here. You click here, and you attach that database. Your database is supposed to be exactly like this, to have the name of agents, to have the names of criminals, and to have this query, and to have 2 forms. As I said, it's very quickly you can create this, database, and just submit it there. And it's a great tool for you learn, because you all work, you might have a farm, for example. Your parents have a farm. In the farm, you might have different trees. You can create different trees. You have, cattles. How much the weight of this cattle? What is the age? What is, Therefore, you can come up here, to apply it to your work. But for now, I want you to think about this problem, to this project, complete it, and submit it. If you have problem, if you don't know how to do it, contact me and I will help you. Therefore, it's just my goal is to make sure you understand it and you know how Access works. And of course, this is one of your assignment. The other one are those videos that you always go and, hopefully combination of these two will give you a sense of what Microsoft Access is. And as I said, I will help you and let me know if you have any questions.